And shout out to those 2 or 3 reporters on CNN that are in China and showing what's actually taking place in Shanghai, where they're forcing 25 million people. 25 million people live in Shanghai. How many? I think it's 8 million. It was 9 million, 9 million in New York City. I mean, it's probably a lot less than that because everyone's moving out of New York City these days. But 25 million people just in Shanghai alone, forcing them to be locked down, to stay in their homes. And you should see some of those videos. And it's so good. Even the conservative sites who are talking about this are showing those videos every place. So very, very good reporting there. Good job by those people who, I don't know if their lives are threatened, but they could definitely go to jail. But when you see drones making sure people off the streets, they're showing Shanghai exactly how it was in January, February, March, when they started closing everything down. There's nobody on the streets, except this just came with no warning. They just started taping up doors, and people were away from their families. They can't get back to their families. Some of these people have no access to food. They don't know what to do. Imagine being separated from your kids and you can't do anything about it. And that's why all these people bitching about America all the time. America sucks and equal rights. Well, they should go to China. Go to fucking China and see how they're dealing with things. Which, by the way, our politicians will never talk bad about China because we're all in China's pocket, right? So we'll never talk bad about that. Forget about it. Forget about that. Xi's changed the laws where he's going to be running that country forever, right? No more term limits. Forget genocide. Forget stealing technology. Forget all that crap. We don't say anything bad about China. No way. No way we're not allowed to. No, we're not allowed to. But when you see these videos, you're going to be like, holy shit. Seriously, take a look at them. Take a look at them online. Again, great reporting by those people who are putting their lives. I mean, I wish news outlets were really like that. Wouldn't it be cool if CNN was really like that, reporting the news instead of bullshit stories on both ends, on these super conservative sites and super liberal sites, with all the bullshit, but everybody complaining about America. America sucks. How about living in the Ukraine right now? How about living in Russia right now? How about living almost anywhere in Europe right now? How much are you paying for energy prices and slower growth? You don't like America, get the fuck out. Leave. Just get out of here. There's nothing stopping you. You can leave. Just goodbye. Go. What a bitch about how terrible it is here. Give me a break. And they got videos of people screaming in apartments, and it's like these massive, like an apartment project, like 4, 5, 6, looks like 40-story rising apartments. And as they're locking down at night, you just hear people screaming and yelling. They don't know what's going on. I mean, holy shit. Imagine that happened here. I remember in January 2020, when an employee that just left us to go take a teaching job in China. She's awesome. Love her. I wish she stayed. But she went there right before COVID, and she was on lockdown. And she sent an email, and I'm like, wow, what's going on over there? Because everything I'm hearing, and this is in January before everyone was really talking about it here. I'm like, holy shit. I mean, it sounds pretty crazy. She has no idea. She's like, give me a call. And I spoke to her. The shit she told me, being locked in a room, she can't leave. Barely had access to food. She had like a little menu that was very limited that she could order from, and then they knock on the door and just drop it off right outside the door, which she had to take it. She couldn't wash her clothes. She was locked down for 14 days. Just took her through her someplace and locked her down for 14 days. How crazy is that? I mean, that interview led me to really start researching COVID, knowing that it was coming to the U.S., interviewing people on lockdown in Italy. But China, holy cow. I mean, you forget how it's a dictatorship. How dangerous she is. I mean, increasing those limits so you could basically have power forever. I mean, that's our biggest enemy, not Russia. I mean, the technology, the genocide. I mean, how many people did they kill with COVID? They didn't let anyone in to help them. Wuhan, they're still denying about Wuhan. I mean, seriously, tens of millions of people died. And he still won't admit that it was fabricated in the lab in Wuhan. We all know that now. Again, our politicians continue to support China. Our media outlets rarely have a bad thing to say about them. It's crazy. Anyway, these lockdowns are very, very serious. And the reason why I called for a special briefing, and that was in February. I rarely do this. I called for a special briefing, and this was the second week of February, after doing all my research, everything on China, and said, holy shit. Because China's a growth engine of the world, and they're closing everything, and we're trading at this expensive valuation like everything's going to be okay, and COVID's about to hit here. And we sold out a lot of positions in the newsletter. I wish I sold them all, but we sold out a lot of them, and then we were able to get back into the market a couple months later and did very, very well during that period. Doing the research. going back. That was back in February, January. Now look at today. If you're looking at these lockdowns, they come at a time where inflation is surging in China. And this is based on the recent CPI and PPI numbers released earlier this week. Now, why is that such a big deal? Because we're talking about our CPI. And our markets are going higher, saying, oh, okay, well, inflation moderated. This could be it. This could be peaking right now, summer peaking. That's what they're saying. Not so fast. China is a nation that the world is counting on for growth right now. Okay, they're one of the largest exporters, and their government announced it's going to implement easy money policies to help spur growth, which nobody could do right now because inflation's out of control. China didn't really have that problem. They saw inflation. It was a lot higher. It's not at record highs. It was a lot higher 3-4 months ago, and they're like, hey, we're going to implement these easy policies. This way we could stimulate growth, which is great for the entire world. That's what we're depending on. Now we got high inflation. Super high inflation in China. So how do you stimulate economy when inflation is running wild? You can't. You have to do the opposite. You have to shrink your balance sheet, aggressively raise rates, something our Fed is finally starting to get after 18 months, 24 months of really rising inflation. Remember when they said that 2%? 2% was that rate where if it goes above 2%, we're going to start raising rates. We're at 8%. We're over 8%. And we raise how many times? 0.25%. Crazy. We should be at 3.5% on the Fed funds rate right now. That's how crazy things are going to get. I don't know if that's factored into stocks right now. So you're seeing them pull back a ton, and yes, you're going to rebound. That's what happens. Like a road, it stretches and it comes, but that's what you're going to see. But the trend is still lower, lower, lower. So strong growth that everyone's expecting out of China, those easy money policies, kind of off the table, which is not good. And then you throw in the recent lockdowns, which, by the way, I'm not sure if you saw the data yet. Yeah, I like throwing out data, even though people will sometimes disagree, especially during COVID. I get so many emails. You're crazy. You know what you're talking about. Whatever. Okay. Whatever. Okay, the data's wrong. Well, you should follow the CDC. This is data from the CDC. Well, just if you have an agenda, don't fucking email me. But if you want to learn and know the data so you can make money off of it, this is what you do. You got to look at the numbers. But according to the data, China is seeing 20,000, a little more than 20,000 new cases for the entire country. Most of those, I think it's 13,000 of those cases, are in Shanghai. So 20,000 new cases per day out of a population of 1.4 billion. And they're going full-blown lockdown. Being monitored by drones, really being enforced. No COVID policy, very, very strict. So to put that in perspective, there's 330 million people here in the U.S. As of yesterday, we're seeing 30,000 cases per day. 30,000 cases per day. Okay, they're seeing 20,000. We're not on lockdown. Yes, we have mask mandates now in Philadelphia and other places, which is insane, right? We know the data. We know a lot of that stuff doesn't work. We also know that lockdowns are one of the most terrible ideas we ever had as a country because COVID is only super, super dangerous for a small group of people, which we identify within the first 3-4 months. First 3-4 months of pandemic, we knew. Because that's when the data started coming out. But it's crazy that China is locking down their entire country based on an infection rate, not a death rate, an infection rate of 0.0014%. There's probably a greater chance of you getting eaten by an alligator than dying from new strand of COVID in China. And they're closing their entire economy, taping their doors, forcing people inside. You can't see your children. Wherever you are, you're locked in too bad. Don't have access to food, starve. I mean, they show in videos, again, those people from seeing a great job of how, they're taking people out of the apartments and they're killing their pets. There's video footage of this. I mean, it's crazy. I think that would be the final. You could do anything you can. You have genocide. You could steal our technology. You could do anything. If you mess with our pets in the U.S., forget it. It's over. It's over. I mean, they don't even have to do anything for the environment. Environmentalists don't even care about China, right? They have coal. They don't even care. Pets, that's where everyone draws the line. That's when people get super crazy, which is kind of funny, right? It doesn't matter. Genocide, you're good. You killed all those people, fine. You steal all our technology, you're good. Don't worry about it. Okay, what the fuck? You killed all of our pets? Holy cow. Now you're going to see everyone come out against China. But this is what's going on there. Pretty crazy, right? When you look at the numbers at that full lockdown. Now, regardless of how other countries deal with COVID, and if you hate it, if you like it, whatever, you have to look at the facts. China's on lockdown again. This means more supply disruptions in almost everything. Cars, food, chips, textiles, bedding, lighting, plastics, electrical machinery, one of China's largest exports. That includes mobile phones. And the data I get that tracks this stuff on a weekly basis is showing that ports are becoming extremely congested again, and supply chains are being disrupted again. What does that mean? It means that there's going to be less goods coming here. It's going to take longer to get stuff. And to account for that, what do businesses have to do? They have to raise prices. So if you think that we've topped out, again, hoping, because if you believe inflation has peaked, just because of the CPI data we got this morning, the core CPI data we got this morning, I hope you're right, I really do. The data doesn't suggest that. So you're going to see more supply disruptions. And China, the world's growth engine, when she's about to implement easy monetary policies, well, that's probably not going to happen in the short term, as they're seeing much higher inflation than expected. And you know what? That doesn't bode well for the U.S., or especially Europe. We're dealing with an energy crisis, a huge energy, far worse than ours. When we're slowing growth, they're dependent on Russia for energy, and they're trying to say, well, they're trying to fight Russia. they're trying to like put these sanctions on Russia. They're trying to talk tough with Russia. Russia shuts off energy. They're done. What are they going to do? I mean, Italy's like scrapping. They're trying to sign deals, I think, with Algeria or something like that. I mean, I don't know if you know what's going on in Europe right now, but it's insane. It's insane. It's to the point where they better be careful what they say to Putin. Because India's like, hey, I'll buy everything you got at cheaper prices. I mean, we have a poor economy. You want to sell us oil cheaper, we'll buy everything. I mean, we don't give a shit if people get pissed, right? Because India's like, who knows whose side India's on? Nobody knows. India, it's weird, right? We know where every country stands, pretty much except for India. Do they like, well, we don't like Russia. We're going to buy all this shit because we need it. But really, nobody knows. And, it's not like we get anything from India, so it's kind of like, nobody bothers with them. They can do whatever they want. But it's just weird because isn't it more populated than China or second, wherever it is? I don't know if it's, but it's weird that, they're going to buy shit, even though you don't know what side they're on or whatever, because you have to pick sides in times like this. But it doesn't bode well for the U.S. Doesn't bode well for Europe, most of the developed countries. It's getting worse. You're going to see inflation continue to move higher, which means if you're looking to buy stocks on this rally, I'd be more of lightening up my positions. I think that's better.